This is not your typical run-of-the-mill tomato. It's an heirloom tomato. By definition, these tomatoes owe their heritage to varieties that were introduced before 1940. Our search for the perfect tomato takes us here, just 10 minutes south of Calgary, to the home of Hotchkiss Herbs and Produce.
Hi, my name's Paul and I run Hotchkiss Farms.
Hi, I'm Tracy Hotchkiss from Hotchkiss Herbs and Produce. I'm the operations manager here, but really I'm the one that runs the show. We met back in 1985 and were married shortly thereafter. And it was at that point that we decided that neither of us was really interested in staying in the city. And so we started looking at pieces of property and looked at a number of pieces around the city and decided ultimately that this was the place that we were going to stay. And we've been here for 25 years.
I started growing tomatoes because I was interested in tomato taste. I found that readily available tomatoes were really disappointing. They were perfect looking, but dissatisfying from a tomatoes, bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich sort of perspective. So I just thought, man, I can do better than this. So that's how it started out.
Paul started this sort of as a half business venture because he was still working in the city, but he decided that since he was seeing so much production from this greenhouse, that since he couldn't just take it all into the office and give it to his staff, that he would try and find other homes for it. And so he hired an individual that worked with him full-time in the greenhouse and another person that worked half-time. And between the three of them, they sort of cultivated the business.
It was on this piece of property, even before the family home was constructed, where Paul built the first Hotchkiss greenhouse.
Greenhouse 1 that we refer to is 4,000 square feet, and it was erected as we were living in a 700 square foot mobile home, so it was quite confining to say the least. So Paul did spend a lot of time in the greenhouse listening to his tomato plants growing and watching his vegetables grow.
It's hard to grow them. To grow our heirloom tomatoes, it takes 5 months often from seed to production. We don't typically have 5 months outside in Calgary. The classic greenhouse approach to growing tomatoes is to put them in an environment that's absolutely stress-free. They have a highly regulated humidity, CO2, other nutrients, as well as temperature.
Over the years, the Hotchkiss team, including Lindsay, the greenhouse manager, has experimented with about 100 varieties of tomatoes. They have shortlisted this to 20 favorites that grow well in the ecosystem Paul has created.
Every year we will add 2 or 3 different varieties just as an experiment. Other than that, we have some beautiful pink tomatoes that are rose-colored with light green stripes on them, and a couple of big yellow ones that we're playing with. And then we grow the more common ones, like we come under the heading of tigrella, which is orange and yellow striped. We grow green and yellow striped. Yellow with green stripes, you get the idea. If we see a plant that we like that produces kooky looking tomatoes, we'll save seed and grow that.
Their innovative spirit is also alive and well, as demonstrated in their method of harvesting.
A number of tools of the trade. I mean, scissors probably is my most common tool of the trade, but on a more complicated or technical level, we use what's called a lift cart. It is an electric motor. It drives a little hydraulic pump which pushes hydraulic oil into a piston, and it raises people up to the height required to work on the tomato plants. In our particular greenhouse, our tomato plants grow to 10 feet tall. So we need a lift cart that allows people to work on the plants as they grow, and then once they're up at that 10-foot level. Our greenhouse is heated with hot water, as most commercial greenhouses are. And those hot water pipes basically function as a miniature railway. So they have 2 functions. They convey hot water, obviously that conveys heat to the plant. And on top of that, we put the rail cart and it rides back and forth. It's nice and smooth and very stable. This one we built out of steel with the idea that since the people are up 10 feet, it needs to be very stable, which is true. It weighs about 700 pounds and it's somewhat difficult for people to move from rail to rail. So we're looking at building another one with a low center of gravity but built out of aluminum so it's much easier to use.
I like the tanginess, I like the freshness. You know, when you cut open to a tomato for the first time, you can smell earth. You can smell what Mother Nature intended a tomato to smell like, because, you know, it's just been picked out of the garden and you can't get it any fresher.
I like just going out to the greenhouse, getting warm tomato, so cutting it, getting a little bit of arugula, cutting that, and a little bit of feta cheese, olive oil, a little bit of vinegar, sea salt, and that's it.
To meet the growing demand, Hotchkiss has expanded from their 4,000 square foot greenhouse to just over 1 acre. The plan is to eventually take Hotchkiss to 2 acres of covered growing area.
We've grown to a point where we service more than 50 of the finer restaurants in and around the Calgary area. We ship up to Edmonton, we ship as far east as Saskatchewan. We concentrate a lot of our efforts on the Banff-Canmore corridor. We also deal with some of the niche type grocery stores that you find in and around Calgary.
As our market has grown, we've grown. We've probably grown slower than our market. There seems to be quite an interest in our product and people that are like us. It comes down to a lifestyle. I mean, it lets me play in the mud, which is good with the expensive machinery that you know, I couldn't justify otherwise.
I would say actually that our business over time has divided itself quite nicely into segments. We do grow the tomatoes and they are a significant part of the business, but we grow wheatgrass for the Juco juice stores. We grow microgreens, which are a handsome part of our business. We grow a number of greens. We have arugula, beans, carrots, Swiss chard, lettuce. So we have a pretty big menu.
We would like to get big enough so we have some inertia, we have some stability in how we do things. But at the same time, we don't want to turn into a factory operation. That was the whole point behind this, is to have a small enough deal that a restaurant could phone us and say, could you grow some cilantro for us? And we could say, okay. Or we say no on occasion. But you know, if you have a factory farm, there's just no way that fits into what you do. I really enjoy this. I think Tracy probably doesn't enjoy it as much as I do, but it's really, really challenging. Then you get a day like today, you know, it's a nice place to be.
Just to know that we've toiled away really with great effort in putting a product out on somebody's table is pretty amazing.
The Hotchkiss team practices the highest of standards, and that's reflected in the flavors found at many grocery stores and fine dining establishments.